Welcome back to Ask Sloan, everybody.
Sponsored by Zentavos. Keep more of your money.
What's your exit plan? Do you have one? Do you know what that means? How much money do you want to earn off your business when it's time to go? I'm sitting here with one of my best friends, Arturo Lopez. We've been doing this for a clip now. We started way back when on the entrepreneur journey, and now we're helping people exit. It's pretty wild, pretty exciting. So you just started a new position. Tell us about it.
So I did. So I stepped into a role with Greystone. It's sell-side investment banking. I've worked for almost 2 decades with business owners, helping them from basically creating the idea, growing the business to exit to what that looks like after. And so really this is just an add-on and a support for, being that resource, not only in a coaching sense or a peer group sense, but also their asset and what they call the trusted triangle, but the advisors that are really going to quarterback what that exit looks like.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's define some terms, right? Because sales side investment banking is very, very sophisticated. So let's break that down just a little bit. So obviously, like we're selling our business and or merging, and there are private equity firms that what they do is they are in the business of business, right? Buying, selling, roll ups, so on and so forth. And they're trying to create value and create a better product or a stack of business to sell to other firms and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then for the small business owner, they're trying to get out and get all that value that they have wrapped up in their business and have this nice retirement to look forward to with that exit. So mm-hmm. What is an investment banker?
So an investment banker is, I would say, just that mid-level tier above and beyond a business broker.
Okay.
So depending on your enterprise value or the value of your top line business, you would need an investment banker versus a business broker.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's basically who is your potential buyer going to be, right? And how big is your business, and also what sort of exit are you looking for? So really, it just has to do with how sophisticated of a transaction do you need, and do you really need to take it out to market to sophisticated buyers like family offices, private equity, institutional funds.
Absolutely. That's because I think a lot of people hear banker and they're like, well, the Wells Fargo teller is going to help me sell my business. I don't understand. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that for us. So the banker part of the investment banker is like a person that is processing a transaction, mm-hmm. right? Not a deposit banker that like takes your money and holds it and stuff like that. And the investment side is that you have people that are buying businesses for value as an investment to then turn around and do something with, right? So that's super cool. So you just got started. I know you got a couple of deals in the pipeline. Why is it so important to understand what your exit strategy is when you first? I mean, I just started my business, right? I just started it yesterday. Mm-hmm. I got my LLC. Somebody told me to get a DBA. I have no idea what is going on, but I make cabinets. And why do I care about understanding what my exit strategy is from the beginning?
Well, I think most entrepreneurs start off because they don't necessarily want to work for someone else, right? So they begin with the mindset of, let me create a job for myself, right? The importance of having an exit and a plan is because it decides on how you want to grow that business, right? Do you want to scale? Are you going to reinvest in the business? Are you going to just basically make enough to support your family? Do you want to have a business partner? That's why the exit plan is so important, is because you know the direction you're headed. It's similar to taking a road trip with the family. Well, if you don't know where you're going, then why do you need a map? Why do you need GPS? You can go in any direction you want.
Bro, you might end up in Toledo, bro.
Correct, but if you don't actually
maybe that's not where you want to go.
Yeah, maybe that's not where you want to go. But with the plan, you can actually have that direction and then meander through what that looks like and what's best for your family.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It's about understanding how to build, right? And you hit the nail on the head. Let's identify a few of those, right? So the first one is like, hey, it's just me, right? I'm just gonna make it happen. And then potentially sell it one day and have a little retirement thing, right? Then there's the legacy. I got you mentioned your boys, right? In our What's in the Cup episode, I've got 3 girls. Do they want the business? Do they want to run it? Do they want to inherit it? Um, both of our families have had family businesses. My wife's her parents have a business. My dad has a business, so on and so forth. So how does that look? Transference. And then some of us are serial entrepreneurs, right? Like we have gotten into the business of building businesses, and then the exit is much more strategic. It's a way to earn additional income, throughout the years of earning, right? And so what changes when So let's go to the statistic. I think this is very important. Y'all listen up. And I might butcher it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but 2% of small business owners exit on their own terms for what they thought they were going to get.
Correct.
It's a terrible number, right? So 2 out of 100 actually get the deal they should get for their business.
And then even less than that, about 30% of that 2% are actually happy with the exit once they actually do a transaction.
And why? Why is that number so low?
A lot of it has to do with preparation.
Okay.
So when you think about an exit plan, it's not something you do 3 to 6 months, before. It's 18 months, 3 to 5 years in advance. What you really want to be thinking of is you really need 3 years of intentional growth, intentional structuring, so that any potential buyer is going to be able to push back for you minimally. So that's really why you want to take the time to do it right. You mentioned the IRS. The IRS is not necessarily flexible when you start creating things overnight and all within the same tax period.
Right.
You have a track period of planning where you've been doing this for 5 to 7 years. Then you have a paper trail and the support system where you have your advisors, and it's a lot harder for them to push back on you.
And I think that's a very important number to understand. It bears repeating, right? 3 to 5 years, right? I'm really working with a lot of my clients and a lot of my messaging around what an investment is, right? And when you start a business, like that is your biggest investment, right? And an investment is not get rich quick, right? An investment is not, hey, blow it out of the water, sell it quick. Like an investment is 3 to 5 years, right? And if you haven't been building your business properly, to think you're going to get what it's worth, like you don't know what it's worth if you haven't done it right. Like whatever you think is like what it's worth to you is not what it's worth to somebody else, right? And then be like really knowing, what that journey looks like afterwards. So thanks for giving us that marker, right? 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then so what entails building the business properly so it's attractive to a buyer?
Sure. Well, the old adage is that an overnight success only takes 10 years. And so the 3 to 5 is really just a step in the right direction.
Right.
But what you want to understand, once you have an exit plan and understand that you are going to think about selling the business, the first thing you want to do is focus on your systems and your procedures.
Okay.
Every great performance team, high performer has a playbook. And so those have to be documented. They can't live in the entrepreneur's head.
Okay.
They actually need to have technology around them and be able to be repeatable and cross the organization. So that would be the first thing, is have your systems and processes in place. The other thing that you want to think about is strong financials. Now, this is kind of your arena,
sure,
but have a good support system where, you actually have a process and are able to have a good, accounting firm or support bookkeeping firm, be able to make sure that those financials are up to par and up to date, monthly closes, audit reviews, all those things. The other thing that a lot of business owners overlook, because they a lot of times have great relationships, is the customer concentrations. If your biggest customer represents more than about 20 to 25% of your income, that's not a business, that's a job.
Correct.
And that can go away overnight.
Overnight.
We experience in our own
We've
tribe.
seen it. Yeah, absolutely.
Personally. And so I would say kind of those are the main 3 things that are important to keep in mind when you do have a plan for what's going to come next in a sale.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like you've got to make the transition from working in your business to working on it, right? And that's when you start developing those SOPs and you turn it into, what a lot of people will call it like the Bible or whatever. And with the advent of um, being able to video everything, everybody's got a, freaking camera in their pocket. Um, it's so much easier today to develop those things. And you can even have like your team do it. Like, hey, what do you do? What does your workflow look like? Okay, let's type it out. Like what we do, we literally in the board meetings and in the team meetings, not the board meetings, in the team meetings, it's like, okay, hey, we're gonna develop a process today. Great. Roxana, get out the computer. You're gonna type the SOP while we go through it, right? And that's how we create them, like right there. And then like that needs to be trainable. Okay. So are you training the next, like when we hire somebody underneath you, that's what you're going to use to train them, right? So do training videos, so on and so forth, and have all of that in a nice, organized fashion so that it's replicable, right? Anybody can go through there, learn what they need to do, and make it happen. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. What do you see? The next one you said was like the finances. So can I run my personal expenses through the business so that I can like save money on taxes? Is that good? Does that work out?
I mean, I think that's like the dichotomy, right? I mean, as entrepreneurs, like one of the benefits of being a small business owner and an entrepreneur is you get to benefit of being the owner, right? But they're mirror images of each other. Let's just say, you run $100,000 worth of expenses through your, that are personal through the business. Well, when you think about a buyer, they're looking at those, say, 4 to 5x multiples, and you just took out $500,000 worth of enterprise value out of the business because they're not going to give you credit for those personal expenses.
Wow.
Right? Because it's not their first
No,
rodeo.
100%.
They buy a business all the time, and so yes, you're living a great life, but at the short-term expense of the future value of the company.
No, and we got to say that again. Like you run $100,000 through your business, that equals $400,000 to $500,000 in enterprise value. That means that check is shorter $500,000. Like, do you want to save? Like, what are you going to save? Like 20, 30 grand in taxes, or do you want $500,000?
Correct. And then, also with those ad backs, I mean, they're not uncommon,
Sure.
but then you're going to lose credibility with the seller because
You haven't been taking care of the business.
You've been living the dream instead of investing and doing those 3 years of preparation.
See, and that's it. That's what takes that 3 to 5 years. Because when you get started, let's be honest. Like it's hard when you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You've got no capital to start with. Like you're doing everything that you can, and so you're mixing a little bit of your personal stuff in with your business because you just don't have time to get it to another account and deal with all those things. You're blowing and going, and that's everybody. And we shouldn't have any feelings about that. But when it's ready, when it's time to be like, hey, I'm ready to move on, and really we recommend as soon as possible. Get your dirty little fingers out of your business as soon as possible, really, right? Because it just makes it so much cleaner. And I think business is moving at a much rapid pace today. But like small business owners, like I've got 3 exits right now going, right? And these are businesses that have only been in business for 3 to 5 years. Like this isn't hey, we've been in business 20 years. I mean, like my in-laws business, right? Like that, like we've been in business 20 years, we're retiring, that's one thing, right? But no, these guys are like, hey, they're like serial entrepreneurs, they're pumping it out. Let me build this thing to 10 million and exit. And then let me go again, man. I'm bored. This was fun, but I gotta go, right? So definitely get your fingers out of your business, guys. Just separate your personal and your business finances right away. Saving money in taxes is all fine and dandy, but making millions of dollars in your exit, so much more valuable, right? And what was that last one?
As far as what your customer concentration. So think about, your top 10 customers. What percentage of your total revenue is your top 10 customers? They can be great relationships, but what you don't want is you don't want a single or maybe 3 to 5 customers to be more than about 20 to 25% of your total revenue.
Man, that's huge. So 20 to 25%. And I've got a client right now, and they were in logistics. Okay. And I mean, we all know logistics has been hit hard, right? So in the beginning, they were a hot commodity. Okay. Everybody wanted And they were like, no. Like, we want to get our systems right. We need to do this. And it's fine. Like they right out of the gate, they went from like 10 million to 30, like 10 million first year, 30 million second year, like right out of the gate. Because I mean, they were just that they had that level of relationship in the industry. You know what I mean? Like, they had already been in the industry for 20 years,
Right.
so on and so forth. Right. So and they're like, we're not taking on new clients. And I'm like, well, you know, and then, I mean, hit with tariffs. Okay. Ooh, first they were just hit with shipping in general. There was an issue, and shipping is a little bit cyclical, not in oil, but in all other stuff. And like, then they were hit with tariffs. Okay. So then manufacturing changed, and like, we're not getting all this stuff out of China. So then shipping went it wasn't just cyclical. Now it's like way down. Okay. Then now it's the war and the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, like, it's like just bam, bam, bam. They just keep getting hit. So they went from 30 million down to 10 million. Luckily, they were able to maintain their margins. But I mean, I told them like 6 months ago, I'm like, hey guys, just want to throw this out there. Might want a couple new clients now. You know what I mean? That concentration is no good. And it can be scary. You've got one client that you're servicing. We've seen it a dozen times, right? You got somebody who works at Johnson Controls. They leave Johnson Controls. They start their own controls. And who's their customer? Johnson Controls. You know, like you said, it's a job, right? Well, you've then got to train yourself, and then you've got to go find new customers that compete in that area and build your business. And so I think you really have to identify, are you a real entrepreneur, business owner, or are you a service provider that just wants a nifty little job? And then for those guys, I'm just a service provider. Like, what's the hope for their exit? What's that situation look like?
Well, and I also want to give credit to the entrepreneur where, you know, a lot of times they're running the business, right? So strategy gets put in the back burner, you know, so that's not easy. But you also like do business with people you like. And so what happens is over time, they continuously give you business, they give you referrals. So it's not like you're being intentional, but over time, it's a lot easier to get business by referral and to do business with people you're already doing business with than to go out there and do business development and actually had to make a sale.
For sure.
So it's not always necessarily, you know, that you're doing anything bad. It's that
right. It's not
is
bad.
that a buyer is just not going to be happy with that because they're going to understand that if your relationships are the business, they're going to beat you up on that. And 100%. Then of course, in the concentration of who the customer is, then, you know, they're not going to be as comfortable writing a check when they know that 30% of the business could leave the door at any point.
Yeah, it lowers your multiple, and it lowers the amount of buyers available. Now you're limited to somebody that basically wants to buy your book. And they know your book's Johnson Controls. They're trying to increase their service level with Johnson Controls or whatever, right? Totally cool. So
well, and just to dive down a little bit deeper than that, you know, when you think about your systems and processes, as you get more sophisticated, you can think about things like, what's your recurring revenue? How often do they come back to you when they're rebidding projects? Also, what do your contracts look like? If you've been doing business with someone for a long time, you know, the contract you signed 5 to 7 years ago isn't always in favor of the business you are today or even the relationship. And so it's just something to think, you know, those little things that kind of operate under the playbook become really important as you negotiate, because those contracts are going to be the things that outlive you and outlive the sale.
Yeah, and if your contracts aren't fresh and somebody dies, God forbid, or loses their job, and you get somebody fresh in there, well, now those contracts aren't valid. Now we have to renegotiate the contract because this one's out of date. Yeah, I went to month, but like that's not how we do business. All right, so all of a sudden somebody looks at it and it's like, oh, these contracts aren't fresh. Now maybe they go out to bid.
Or the relationship isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the day-to-day, whether it be the, you know.
Well, they got their own team now.
Correct.
It's like, oh, like Tom comes in and like he does business with Mark, you know? What are you going to do? Yeah, no, that's very important. Very important. So who are you looking at right now? I know what is Greystone's, basically like a lot of firms have industries they want to get into, right? Or they have I'm just running a little bit of a
Sweet
blank,
spot.
but basically, yeah, sweet spot, or like whatever their modus operandi is. Just like who do they want to buy? Like what industries are they looking at, and what kind of transactions are they looking at doing?
Sure. So we have 5 different silos. It basically mirrors the Houston and Texas economy.
Okay.
You know, we always get the question like, what are the hottest industries right now? Now, anyone who's been paying attention to social media or the news is going to understand that that has a lot to do with HVAC, plumbers, engineers.
Okay.
Well, we're not necessarily chasing hot industries as much as understanding that those businesses are not directly dependent upon AI or technology. Those are human capital businesses that have what buyers are really looking for, which is repeatable cash flow.
Yeah. Longevity, repeatable cash flow, very difficult to disrupt. Like it's a stable business, going to be stable for the next 10 years, 15 years. Yeah.
Right. So many times people want, to find out like, oh, well, what's trending, what's hot. Those businesses may be sexy. However, buyers truly want something that's going to be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not looking for the hot chick. Actually, they're looking for the chick that's wearing that's got a.
You're going to introduce your mother.
A Birkenstock.
You're going to introduce your mother, and you're going to want to marry for the long term.
For the long term, yeah. No, for sure. So so that's neat. And I know that we got a bunch more topics to cover, and I always like to leave the audience with a word of wisdom for the week. Right, wisdom for the week. Okay. And so what I'm thinking that the wisdom for this episode is get your grubby fingers out of the pot, right? And start building your business for sale, even if you're not ready to sell it, because that's going to give you the most value. That's going to really help you understand what your business is worth and get you to just that next level, right? That we see so many entrepreneurs that hit 2 million and can't get out of their own way. Like they cannot it's a ceiling. They just can't get through it.
So many times we run into that kind of commercial for the military, an army of one. It's sexy. You want to be the hero. However, in a business, that's a job. And so if you can't leave your business for 2 weeks and it run like a machine, then there is no exit plan. That's what I would say to leave our viewers, is to think about, are you comfortable developing that management team and developing the systems and playbook so that you actually have something where when you exit, everything runs smoothly and you're able to move on to whatever that next step is for you.
Absolutely. And that new number is 90 days. Make your business so that you can leave it for 90 days. And when you come back, there's no fires to put out. It actually made more money than when you left. Wisdom of the week, everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
Sponsored by Centavos. Keep more of your money.